This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. For nearly a decade since this D-list agent of chaos entered the global stage, speculation has swirled about Meghan Markle's prior acquaintance with Andrew, before she met Harry, and her potential ties to Jeffrey Epstein. That theory gained significant traction when attorney David Boies sought to call her as a witness in Virginia Giuffre's case against Andrew. Sadly, we never got to see that testimony unfold thanks to Andrew's multi-million-dollar settlement with Virginia. In the wake of the recent Epstein file dump, however, the rumors have resurfaced and become a hot topic over the last 2 weeks. Did Meghan intimately know Andrew before Harry? There's no concrete evidence of that. And no, that is not Meghan on the boat with Andrew when he was in Thailand. It's not her. But these latest documents do provide solid proof that the woman that we're calling Meghan Markle is undeniably linked to this Epstein network. And I'm going to show you in this video exactly how. More importantly, I'll reveal what could be the most compelling explanation for how this D-list actress was allowed to infiltrate the royal family. By the time I'm done laying out what I've uncovered, I believe it will all click into place. It truly is one big club, and I only see it getting worse for them, because now the public knows and understands what they do behind closed doors, and it forever changes how we see these people in society and to stay away from them. But before we get started, if you could help the kid out, please hit that like button, as you do know that every little bit helps. All right, let's get into it. So we're going to go back and revisit a video that I did over 2 years ago. There's no sense in redoing the work that I already did. I think it's good to remind everybody what was said back then and show you how spot on it was. I must preface, for legal purposes, some content in this video is opinion-based. My speculations formed comes from the research of materials available to the public online and coming to my own conclusions. I must emphasize for you to do your own research and come to your own conclusions. So beginning with this, Meghan Markle's key British connections before she met Prince Harry revealed, from David Beckham's PR guru to the daughter of King Charles's closest friend. What caught my attention and drew me into this article specifically was this wonderful little flowchart that they put together, showing all the people that Meghan was connected to prior to meeting Harry. They go into significant detail with each one of these listed here, but for our purposes, this video is going to mainly focus on Misha Nunu, Hikari Yokoyama, and Alexander Gilks. So the article first begins with Misha Nunu and her ex-husband Alexander Gilks, in which they explain that Misha met the former Suits actress in 2014 while attending an Art Basel event in Miami. Noting at the bottom that at the time Meghan and Misha's first meeting, the designer was married to Alexander Gilks, who attended Eton College at the same time as Prince Harry and Prince William. Any news from the horrible UK media needs to be fact-checked. So what did I do? I went to Finding Freedom, the book that Meghan had direct involvement with, to cross-check the facts. So it says here, according to Scobie, at a Soho House lunch in Miami, he was the one who sat the actress next to Misha, a budding fashion designer with a vivacious personality and impeccable pedigree. The occasion for the December 2014 Miami trip was Art Basel, a decadent art fair that brings the internationally rich and famous for a week of parties and events of all sorts and sizes. Since this book was riddled with lies, we really can't trust that this is correct, so let's go to the source of where Misha now has stated how she met Meghan. So this is the article that was referenced from the Mail Online in the Evening Standard, to which had told them that the pair had met years ago through another mutual friend in Miami. We were seated next to one another at lunch, and we got along like a house on fire. Well, that sort of jives with what Finding Freedom says, and also ties back to the original piece. So it checks out. They met in December of 2014 at Art Basel. And by the way, Art Basel happens once a year, and that's always in December. I go through and I see this photo, and I'm like, where have I seen those ugly pants before? Oh, right, seen here in 2015. Most likely, Misha probably gave Meghan these pants for free so she can rock them because she's so influential. Anyhow, going back to the article and this picture, I scroll down to the bottom of it to read what the caption says. It says, Misha Nonu and her ex-husband Alexander Gilks, pictured at the 11th annual CFDA Vogue Fashion Fund Awards in November 2014, the fashion designer met Meghan in May that year. Hold on. Didn't it just say that they met at Art Basel and that always happens in December? It would appear that the paper might have made a mistake. So next up is Hikari Yokoyama, and it says, in late 2014, Meghan Markle featured an interview with art curator and interiors expert Hikari Yokoyama on her now-defunct blog, The Tig. She then went on to highlight how Hikari had helped set up Paddle 8, the aforementioned auctioneer firm founded by Prince Harry's Eton peer Alexander Gilks. So is it accurate with what the paper is stating? Well, we can check because the TIG has all its pages archived. So let's find out what Meghan said back in late 2014. So here is the archived piece where it says May 12th, 2014. And how we know that this is the blog? It's because it states right there, as I just mentioned, they cited saying that Hikari, beautiful, fashionable, incredibly cultured. So now that we've established that this is what they were referencing, why would the paper go ahead and say that they met in late 2014 when May is technically early 2014? Another mistake? So according to the TIG and what Meghan says, she mentions that she was connected to Hikari by her friend Celine, whoever that may be. So going back to Finding Freedom, Meghan does mention this company Paddle 8, but she attributes it to Misha's husband, Alexander. It's kind of funny, right? Considering that she goes on in Finding Freedom to talk about Misha's husband, Alexander, saying that he's the founder of Paddle 8, when in May of 2014, if allegedly she didn't know Misha by that point, you would think that she would have mentioned that she knew Hikari, the other founder, if she was a founder, in this book, right? All about empowering females, the whole theme that she's going on to try and make herself look like she is about female empowerment. No mention. It seems very odd. And of course, anything with Meghan Markle always has inconsistency because there's lies behind it. So now we have to figure out what exactly is the lie. Continuing on, in that same TIG blog that was posted on May 12, 2014, right below the post that she wrote about Hikari was this, coming from New York, courtesy of my dear friend Andre Balaz. So for those that don't know, Andre Balaz is a very wealthy businessman and hotelier. So Andre Balaz has been a well-known figure in New York City, partly due to his high-profile relationships with Uma Thurman and Chelsea Handler, but also recently, well, not recently, but a few years ago, for being exposed in Sleazy E's Black Book. There are many photographs of Andre Balaz and this woman, who we will call Heidi. As you can see, they were quite close. Alexander, Misha's ex-husband, was also very close with Andre Balaz. And in 2010, Andre was dating a woman who was 22 years younger than him by the name of Catherine Keating. So Catherine is from Australia, and she is the former Australian Prime Minister's daughter, Paul Keating. She came to New York in 2010 and hopped onto the social scene here by dating this guy, Andre, in which she develops a relationship with Heidi. Now, I'm not sure how she met Andre, but I'm going to guess that it was through this network. For those that don't remember, in 2010, Andrew was filmed with this woman coming out of Sleazy E's apartment. That is Catherine Keating. Nobody knows what she was doing there, but soon after, she becomes a staple in the New York fashion nightlife scene. As a result of these files being dropped, we now can see that Catherine Keating was mentioned over 1,200 times, indicating that she had an ongoing relationship with Jeffrey and Ghislaine. Throughout these files, you could see that Catherine Keating was an important person to Jeffrey Epstein. She was invited to meet with him multiple times, as well as go over to the so-called apartment for these dinners with Woody Allen and also with Andrew. In fact, Jeffrey Epstein was obsessed with Catherine Keating that he asked Andrew if he could talk to her into coming to that dinner. So in 2010, we see Catherine Keating on the town at fashion events with Princess Eugenie, and then also Misha and her husband, Alexander. In the art world, she also becomes very close with Jay Jopling. So who is this old guy, Jay Jopling? Well, he is a very well-known art dealer and gallerist in London. He is a very wealthy man. He also married Hikari Yokoyama, who is 20 plus years younger than him. I need to mention that Jeffrey Epstein was on his invite list for this party. As you can see here, this demonic image that we're looking at. Oh, and by the way, buddy with Andre Balazs. Oh, and also, did I mention that Hikari and Misha Nonu are also really good friends, who happen to be at that same Soho House gathering in Miami, pictured with Marcus Anderson, in 2014, seen here. This was actually Jay Jopling and Nick Jones, who is one of the owners of the Soho House's event. And now here's an updated fun fact from the Epstein file release. It is confirmed that Jeffrey actually, behind the scenes, had somehow been involved with setting up the Soho House in Miami. And there is Meghan's dear friend, Andre Balazs. Let's not forget that Meghan was also at this event with her then-boyfriend, Corey Vitiello. But in another update from the files is that Jeffrey Epstein was there at that year's Art Basel in Miami. And there it is, folks, confirming that Jeffrey Epstein was indeed at Art Basel the same time that Meghan Markle was. For all we know, this person could be talking about Meghan. I mean, why wouldn't Jeffrey be at that event, considering all his friends were at the event? And on top of it, if he did fund this location, then of course he was there. But the other thing that I want to raise here, going through these files, is seeing that Jeffrey Epstein had the power and pull to get people's applications to the Soho House approved. And who is the one responsible for memberships? Well, that would be Marcus Anderson. Ghislaine Maxwell had a membership, which means that Marcus Anderson had to know about it. Apparently, Jeffrey Epstein had been paying for a few memberships, and it was coming out of an account that was kind of dodgy. But getting back to the story about Misha and this lunch where she met Meghan and they got on like a house on fire. So now I'm going to put it out there and say that this event was at nighttime. There was no lunch. And when you look at the calendar and you look at the history, Soho House did not have a lunch planned or an event planned where there was a lunch. The story that Misha's telling is a bold-faced lie. It's not too far-fetched that this explanation or this version of how Meghan and Harry met is also a lie. So the question becomes, why would Misha lie? What does she have to hide? Let's revisit this blind item dated June 30th, 2020. The illiterate former actress turned royal has a friend who knows all about the yachting and trolling for rich husbands because she was doing it too. The two are very good friends. Turns out, though, a divorce is in the works for the friend. So this was before Misha divorced Alexander. Since Meghan started dating Harry, there has been this rumor that has been going around of Meghan being a yacht girl, also known as a high-end escort. Now, we've all seen this picture floating around and saying that Meghan was on this yacht with Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend, Karina Shuliak. Now, I can't confirm if that's true or not. Sure, it does look like her, but can't really say that it is because her face is like upward. So, I'm just going to let you draw your own conclusion if you think that it's her, or Possibly, like what we've seen with a lot of these photos, could it have been somebody put that out into the internet, seeding it because of the whole mis and disinformation and, copy and pasting Meghan in the background? Maybe. I mean, we really don't know the authenticity of where this photo came from. But at this point, anything is a possibility. Let's go back to that interview that Misha did with the Evening Standard, in which, remember, she had said that she had met Meghan at this event down in Miami, supposedly in 2014. She tells the writer, at 17, after taking her baccalaureate, Misha was a summer intern at Quintessentially, the concierge company where she met Alexander, who was then 23. So to summarize what this is, it was a luxury lifestyle management company that facilitated everything from day-to-day nuances like finding nannies, plumbers, or gifts at the last minute. This was catered to a very high-end clientele. So there's flaws actually in this story because the math doesn't add up. So if they're saying that they got married in 2012, and Misha was 17 at the time when she met Alexander, who was 23 at the time, and they dated for 7 years, then that wouldn't put them at 2012. So let's look at the math because the math is not mathing. So going by the Google machine, they say that she was born in 1985. Now, I'm not a math whiz, but if she was born in 1985, then she would have turned 17 in the year 2002. 2002 plus 7 years is 2009. So how could she have gotten married in 2012 when she was 17 when she met him and dated him for 7 years? You see, the math does not add up. I am not doubting that she didn't get married in 2012. That's on record. It's just I don't think that Misha is being forthcoming in really how she met Alexander. So going back to that blind item, is there any weight to it? You bet there is. That quintessentially concierge service that Misha was interning at, they were under a lot of heat for setting up a service that housed escorts. An article featured in the Financial Times back in 2020 wrote, quintessentially a concierge company run by the co-chairman of the UK's Conservative Party, created the website of an international escort agency called Le Besoin and registered it to its London headquarters. Founded by Ben Elliott, co-chairman of the Conservative Party and a friend of Prime Minister Boris Johnson, quintessentially helped set up the website in 2013, advertising discreet, superior escort services in cities including London, New York, and Moscow for high-profile gentlemen. Le Besoin, French for the need, offered a members-only group of high-class models, according to a cache version of the website, which was taken down last year. The website was registered to Quintessentially's office in Portland Place, West London in 2013. Now, after this was exposed in 2020, the Quintessentially group vehemently denied that they had any association with Le Besoin, even though that they created the website. They created it for somebody else, allegedly. I'm guessing the guys most likely skipped reading the About page and went straight to looking at the girls. Let's take a look at the girls that you can spend your time with that maybe if you want to bring home to mom or bring to the White House or maybe even Buckingham Palace. We have Ada in Dubai. You can get her for 4 hours at €1,500. We've got Valeria from Dubai. She's Venezuelan. For 3 hours, you could get her for $1,500. Oh, even Linda from London. Allegedly, she's 24. Somehow, that doesn't look 24, but I'll take her word for it. 3 hours, and she's Russian? Oh, wow. Classy, classy, classy. So I guess you're wondering, what are the odds that Sleazy E is involved? Well, Ben Elliott was found in the little black book. So make what you want of that. Also, in the updated files, there was talk of this restructuring that was going on in 2015. So, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein had his hands in quintessentially as well. So now, could it be possible that John Fitzpatrick, since nobody knows how Meghan met him, could have been using a service like Le Besoin, if not Le Besoin? I think so. Something for you guys to think about. Now, here is something else I want you to think about. This was posted in Reddit. When I read it, I was like, interesting. But as I have been digging through this, it's starting to all make sense now. And it says this person is posting with permission from their friend, who they'll call Doe for the post out of respect. And they write, a group of us were hanging out last night and a related topic came up. For context, my sweet, amazing friend had a horrifyingly dysfunctional childhood. Doe grew up with extremely wealthy parents who had clinical intimate addictions and would frequently sort of advance their children in front of people and bring them along to really inappropriate settings. I knew that Doe, who no longer speaks with her parents, had contributed information to Sleazy E and Heidi's case because she'd been brought along to a few dinners meant to make connections between the various players. How a kid was brought to those and how Doe has turned out so well considering shocks me. In our conversation, Doe revealed that both Andrew and Harry were involved in the circle of players. She didn't say anything about the wife or if she knew anything about alleged involvement, but the confirmation of Harry being involved, which Doe says is officially documented, is something I asked Doe if I could share with y'all. She said, go for it. Now, I don't know if this has any truth to it, but it does align with a lot of the things that I am seeing here in this group of people. And now we're seeing it in the files as to how messed up these people are. So now let's go back to the TIG archive where Meghan talks about Hikari, where she writes, and this is just the first sentence I'm going to read here, Hikari reads and copy. This is not the name of the coolest band you've never heard of. Rather, this was the first line of an email from my friend Celine, connecting me to Hikari Yokoyama. Now, you remember earlier on in this video, I'm like, I don't know who Celine is. Well, it just so happens in the files, there is someone who is referenced throughout these files as Celine, Selena. And given that all of these people are connected together, the chances of this person, Selena, the chances that that's the person that Meghan is referencing that introduced her to Hikari are pretty high. And I'll get into that in the follow-up video that I do talking about Selena now. But continuing on with the rest of this video, it's just important to remember how Meghan came to be. I think there's too many coincidences, as well as the amount of lies that have been told to cover something up if, let's say, this is what it really was. So in 2015, Meghan went to Turkey on April 25th for this Soho House opening, but it just so happened that Prince Harry was also there on April 25th, 2015. After seeing all the connections to getting to him, could it be that Harry might have been using a service like this and dialed up and said, hey, can you please come out and meet? I think so. I think there's too many coincidences, as well as the amount of lies that have been told to cover something up if, let's say, this is what it really was. I do believe that there's something bigger that's being covered up. I do believe now that Jeffrey Epstein had a hand in getting Meghan Markle into the royal family. And the reason why I say that is because let's not forget the rumors that were running around that Meghan was propped up and whoever was backing her had wanted to send a message to the royal family that their circle could be penetrated. And looking back on this and seeing all that's happened with Harry and Meghan and them not even touching the Yorks, and just so happened that Meghan was friends with Eugenie, looking back at what was being said in these files about Sarah Ferguson. Remember in the video that I did talking about how Sarah pissed Epstein off? Could this be payback for Sarah not correcting the record and calling Jeffrey a pedophile? I think so. I think this is what Jeffrey Epstein did to the royal family because of what Sarah did to him. And given what we are all suspecting, that Jeffrey Epstein was some type of intelligence, some type of asset for whether it be the CIA or Mossad or KGB or some other intelligence, I do think that Meghan was set up as a honeypot to go in and trap Harry. And then I think it started to unfold from there. But there definitely are forces that are behind Meghan that pushed her into this position. Whoever that woman is, it's a fat lie. And she has managed to entrap Harry to go along with all of this mess. And now they're in deep shit. I think a major reason as to why the royal family didn't put their foot down or haven't put their foot down is because of this Andrew and Epstein situation. I'm pretty sure that Meghan has one heck of a dead man switch ready to execute should anything happen to her. I also find it very interesting that a month later, John Fitzpatrick is with now King Charles. So coincidence? Maybe. So now this actually makes a hell of a lot more sense. David Boies, the lawyer for Virginia and Giuffre, had said that there were 3 reasons for Ms. Markle being potentially deposed, and which, he stated, at least for a period of time, was a close associate of Prince Andrew, and hence is in a position to perhaps have seen what he did, and perhaps, if not, to have seen what he did to have heard people talk about it. Because of her past association with him, she may very well have important knowledge and will certainly have some knowledge. I really do think that Harry calling this out and making up this fabricated story that she didn't know who Andrew was to make that point just shows that there might be something that's being covered up. Like, there was no need to put this into the book. It really had no relevance unless there is some truth behind it. So one thing's for sure, that we know that Meghan and Harry use the book, the interview, the Netflix mockumentary, all to back into their story or narrative that they're trying to sell the world, even though a lot of it's based on lies. So this should be no different. And I think if they have lied so much, then there's a reason for that. And if the reason is trying to cover up the fact that she was an escort, which all fingers seem to be pointing in that direction. Well, at least for me, after putting this all together, I believe that she was part of this high-class escorting service, one way or another. I also believe that Misha was a part of it too, as well as Hikari Yokomama, because all of that just fell apart after going through this exercise, in my eyes. I also think that Catherine Keating somehow had a role similar to Ghislaine Maxwell, and she was part of the network in possibly recruiting girls or, hopefully not any of the torturing, but, anything's possible at this point when you see all of these people hanging out with one another and knowing what they do. Here's Catherine Keating with one of the Rothschilds. Here she is in a group photo with Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, here she is with Ghislaine Maxwell in New York standing next to the president of Iceland. Like, that's so random. But stay tuned for part 2, because could these people be the key to how Meghan got to the royal family? Come back tomorrow. You don't want to miss this. I have a lot more to share, but chew on this information for now and let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.